Welcome to the Backbench Business Committee, where we're going to be considering two groups of applications this afternoon. The first is from, I think almost inevitably, Select Committee Chairman or their equivalents for Estimates Day debates, and then secondly, if you like, normal applications for debates or in Backbench Business time in either the Chamber or Westminster Hall. So the first application we're going to hear is from Sarah Champion on spending of the FCDO, I presume in particular on international development. Sarah, over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm joined by my committee member Sam Rushford as well. The committee will know that I don't come before you often. I come when I really feel the committee needs some floor time. Whenever we have a debate on ODA, Official Development Assistance, it is always oversubscribed. We normally have about 50 people standing for it, and so many do not get the time to speak. The reason that I'm coming to you today, calmer, and hopefully the committee is kind, there is an existential crisis facing our Official Development Assistance. The estimates show that there has been a 5% in-year cut to ODA. Let us remember that this comes off the back of a cut from 0.7 to 0.5 and the intention of this government to reduce it down to 0.3 by 2027. So an in-year cut was a surprise to us because we were told that the final amount would not be happening until 2027. The cut also has the background of the US dramatically cutting all of its foreign aid. We are seeing other countries, predominantly in Europe, but also Australia, Canada, cutting their aid. And it is at a time when we find global conflicts escalating, vulnerabilities escalating, the number of people in poverty escalating, and indeed the concern of UK citizens about people coming to our shores to seek sanctuary or indeed opportunities. What frustrates me is our ODA spend has always been the first line of defence, both for keeping people safe and prosperous in their own countries, but also when disasters happen, trying to give them some degree of support and stability. That is being dramatically cut. We know that the announcements, the decisions have now been made. The announcements are likely to be told to the larger organisations next week, that it will be coming into the public domain the following week, and that the Minister has indicated the intention to put it to the House the week of the 17th of March. This means that next week is our one last opportunity to allow members of the House to have their say on what should be saved, where savings might be found, and what priority countries should be. On top of all of that, Chair, if that wasn't enough, we are also seeing unprecedented cuts to FCDO staff. This comes off the back of development staff being cut a few years ago. We are looking at a prediction of between 25 to 40% of cuts. My committee has been working closely with the unions because due process has not been followed, in our opinion. So a work plan was not in place when the first staffing changes happened, which meant the department did not know what skills they had, but also those cuts were being made starting from September, before the new Foreign Secretary was in place, before the priorities that were relating to the cuts were even considered. So staff were being cut before we knew what the priorities, funding priorities, were going to be. We're extremely concerned that this will hit the development sector harder than anything else. So we're looking at a double whammy of the money going and the staff going, and then layer onto that the most uncertain world that I know in my lifetime. I really appeal to the committee. We need to allow members of this House the chance to have their vote. And then straight after their voice heard, and then straight after this meeting, I'm going to a meeting to try and save ICAI. ICAI is the independent scrutiny body that is in existence due to 2015 statute. It reports directly to my committee, and we are told by the Minister that it is likely it is going to be cut. So the one independent organisation that scrutinises what the FCDO spends its ODA on, the one thing that gives public assurance of transparency is likely to be cut. And those decisions are being made live time right now. So please, committee, I'd be grateful if you take our application seriously.
Okay. Thank you. I should have said to all colleagues that are presenting for the estimate state debates, we've only got one day, and we're likely to try and choose 3 of the 7 debates, applications for debate. So you're competing against one another for the slots. Mary.
Thank you, Chair. And following on from what the Chair said, Sarah and Sam, the Foreign Affairs Committee has also applied for a debate on the spending of the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office. Do you think your debates could be combined, or would you really think you should have that your international development requires a separate debate?
What I would say is I've just come from an inquiry into Sudan, which we co-hosted with FAC. There is, of course, a lot of crossover in our 2 departments. Our role, IDC, is to scrutinise the overseas development assistance. The FAC is a broader remit than that. I would be very happy if it gave members a broader sort of bite to combine the 2 together. I think it's most important that members have the opportunity to speak. What heading it comes under is less of a concern for me.
Do you want to answer to add?
I mean, the only thing I would say, Mary, is that no other department and no other area of government spending is being cut as savagely as ODA. And the consequences for that are incalculable, but will inevitably affect the British people, whether that's through implications for global health, for refugees and migrant flows, conflict, and British soft power. And we've not yet really had a proper exploration of what those consequences are, and that's why I think this is a particularly important area for parliamentary scrutiny.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions, colleagues? Well, thank you. The clerks will be in touch
Thank you so much.
soon after the meeting as possible.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up is Emily Thornbury on behalf of the Foreign Affairs Committee.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chair. Brian, also from my committee, was here.
Okay, right.
What time ago was it?
Hiya. And I obviously completely agree with the International Development Committee Chair, and I've no doubt that this is going to take up a portion of whatever debate there is, if there is to be one. But I mean, I've applied for a debate on the Foreign Office as a whole before, because I think that, you know, whilst the world is on fire, we are seeing in the Foreign Office the biggest cuts of any government department overall. That's even parking ODA, right? There's the biggest cuts. So I believe that there is between 15 and 25% cuts in staff happening, and there is great concern with the unions who I've spoken to and a number of staff about how it's happening and what it means. The way it seems to have happened is that they've begun with the directorates, and they've merged them down to a certain number, and then given those directors the job of cutting their staff by a certain amount, so it cascades down. So, I mean, that's one way of doing it. It's not necessarily terribly strategic in terms of looking at what it is that the Foreign Office wants to achieve and the priorities of ministers. And I do think that this is something that we need to look at. And we can't, and as I say, no other government has cuts of this size. So no other government department. As I say, we've had a debate on ODA, and it certainly will be. I'm quite clear will come up in a wider Foreign Office debate if we decide to have a wider Foreign Office debate. But I think that it's also important to look at our diplomatic strength. I mean, you know, the Foreign Office is responsible for what Britain's position is on climate change or on the war in Europe, in Ukraine. or with the old-fashioned war, or the new war, the hybrid war, or what we do about Donald Trump, or the EU reset, or our relationship with the Commonwealth, and so it goes on, or the overseas territories. And at a time like this, to be cutting back on the staff in the way that we are, without necessarily being clear about what the strategy is alarming. And I think that it's quite clear from the interest, the wide interest that we've had from across the House, as you can see from the list that we've got of the sort of 21 people who've signed this, that there's wide interest and there's great concern about what is happening. And it's not just about our diplomatic strength, it's also obviously about our soft power. And I'm sure that members will have heard about the alarm that is being called on what's happening with the British Council, which seems to be going through is likely to go through a completely radical turning upside down, and large numbers of job cuts. There are rumours of 40 officers being under threat across the world. So we're losing our presence in terms of the British Council, we're losing our presence in terms of development people paid for under ODA, and now we're losing our presence in terms of our diplomatic presence. And I think that the opportunity of having a debate on the Foreign Office as a whole will cover all of those things. There is, of course, also the wide interest in the World Service, and although the World Service did get an increase in its funding last time, it only really kind of used that increase in funding in order to kind of patch the holes anyway. And at a time when China and when Russia are investing the amount that they are, and Iran, in disinformation and spreading of lies, there are many ways in which we can counter it, but the most important way is to tell the truth, and to tell the truth through an organisation that is badged with more trust than any other broadcasting organisation, which is the BBC. And so the idea that at a time like this we might be cutting back or just not expanding, frankly, the World Service seems to me to be a recklessly irresponsible, and is something that and I think that having the opportunity for members to be, and I know that the World Service has a huge amount of support, but to be able to give people an opportunity to talk about ODA cuts, to talk about the British Council, to talk about the World Service, but also to talk about Britain's position in the world and what our priorities ought to be, and how it can be reflected if we're going to have to cut our staffing by 25% is essentially the ground, and why we're coming before you to give us an opportunity to discuss it.
Martin.
Thanks, Chairman. Emily, you've given a very broad brush view of things, and I can understand why. But in the limited time that you're going to have within a debate, where would you want to focus on? Yes, I mean soft power, staffing in embassies. Would you want to focus on the threats that we have from, say, Russia and China and other troubled spots, or would you focus on projecting our soft power in a much more broader sense?
So it wouldn't be for me to tell members how they should take this opportunity. The reason I put it broadly is because I think there are so many opportunities within a debate like this, and I'm just sort of suggesting the sort of things that there would be. What I would like to do is I would like to talk about Britain being a force for good, and that at a time like this we've never needed Britain more than we do now, and a good Foreign Office working at the top of its game is now. And so I am concerned that there is this major distraction of the ODA cuts and now the 25% cuts and Donald Trump and and it's extremely challenging, but a multilateralist country like ours, a middle-ranking country like ours, with the history that we have and with the experience that we have, that we are in danger of losing through these cuts, ought to be a force to be reckoned with.
And whilst you're both in the room, if this committee were to say, we'll grant you debate but merge the two debates together, would you accept that?
Of course I'd accept that.
Okay, thank you. Right, thank you. Well, the clerks will be in touch in due course. Next up is an application from Matt Weston on the Cabinet Office spending. Matt, please come in the hot seat.
Can I stay and hold Matt's coat? So I'm supporting.
Very kind of you.
That's all right.
Thank you. Chair Committee, thanks very much for your time. It's a rarity for me to come before you, certainly on behalf of the Joint Committee of National Security Strategy. It's a committee that very few people in this place know much about. But just to suggest that it has on its books my right honourable friend Emily, but also the chairs of other committees, so Sarah Champion, Liam Byrne, Tan Dacey, and others, as well as having the likes of Lord Sedwell, Lord Hutton, and others from the House of Lords. I just mention that because of the work that we're doing, which doesn't get much visibility typically. We often say, and the government speaks to this, which is national security is the first responsibility of any government. And I think we've seen just in recent days from the Munich Security Conference, by way of example, what Friedrich Merz, Chancellor of Germany, was saying when he said that the international orders, we've known it for decades, no longer holds. Freedom is no longer a given. Closer to home, the head of MI6, Blaise Metroelli, put it like this. She said, "We are now operating in a space between peace and war. This is not a temporary state or a gradual inevitable evolution. Our world is being actively remade with profound implications for national and international security." Now, anyone who thinks that security is defence is really misunderstanding what this is about. The United Kingdom is the third most cyber-attacked nation in the world, the most cyber-attacked in Europe. And why? Of course, most of it is down to our relations, say, with the United States, but a lot of it is down to our positioning over Ukraine. But this has real impacts on the lives, not just, say, of people who worked in businesses that have been attacked successfully, such as Jaguar Land Rover, Marks & Spencer's, Co-op, or whatever. We've seen the attacks on the Electoral Commission. We've seen attacks on the British Library. We've seen them on individual local authorities as well. But we are the third most attacked, and we have to wake up to this reality of why it is and respond to that threat. Now, the reason for asking for an Estimates Day debate is because the government has said, quite rightly, it wants to commit to 1.5% spending on security over and above the 3.5% for defence. The challenge really is, what does that look like? And our committee has put to government and to those who have expertise in this area challenges about what this should look like and what is being done by government. Unfortunately, so far, we've not had direct answers to those questions. And so the reason for pushing this is because if we really believe, as many say, that we are in a kind of 1930s parallel, our security and the nature of conflict, our security is under threat, but the nature of conflict has very much changed. And that is why I think it's really important that we, as a parliament, hold government to account and really understand what it is that they're thinking behind this 1.5%. Thank you.
Okay. Obviously, you've heard the applications on behalf of Emily, on behalf of the FCDO, and obviously Sarah. Why would this be a bigger priority than either of those, given that you're talking about FCDO spending?
Well, obviously they both have their real merits. What I would say is that I think
just don't rise to it.
This is we live in incredibly unusual times, and I think we're at a juncture where we have to really give focus and attach importance to this area of security. Jaguar Land Rover not just impacted on my constituency, it impacted on UK PLC's growth last year. Mm-hmm. Likewise, Marks & Spencer's. It's not simply their concern. The concern has to be wider about what is the threat to food security and what is the threat to our economic security and so on. And we cannot simply say it is down to corporate responsibility. So I would say it's an unusual request. You won't have ever had this committee or this area come before you before. I absolutely support the requests that have been put in by Emily and Sarah. because they are linked.
We've signed each other's forms.
They are linked. There's a lot of commonality, but there are some distinct differences. So I wouldn't necessarily suggest that committee choose either or. I think if there is time allowing on the day, I would hope that we would all be able to be accommodated.
Well, that's not going to be possible to do, everyone, but much as I would like to be in that position. Okay, fine. Any other questions from colleagues? No? Okay, well, thanks, Matt. The clerks will be in touch. And now we move on to Candice, I think, with request for... Where is it? Oh, there. Sam, please come forward. For an application on behalf of the Defence Select Committee. You're almost becoming a season ticket holder.
Thank you very much, Chair. That's how much I love the Backbench Business Committee. You may be aware that this is the first time I'm appearing before the committee to discuss an Estimates Day debate. The application that is in front of your good selves, you will have seen, Chair and Honourable Members, that it has the support of over 70 members, cross-party, cross-section, not just the three major parties in terms of Labour, Conservative and Lib Dem, but also support from Plaid Cymru, from Reform, from SNP. And there are many others who wanted to sign the application, but they were not in a position to do so because of their particular roles. But look, we all know that the MOD is one of the greatest or the highest spending departments within government, and the expenditure levels since 2022-23 have had a significant increase, including now going from 60 billion to over 75 billion, and that is expected to rise further to nearly 85 billion by 28-29. Now, the quantum of that expenditure, as well as the situation that we find ourselves in with the illegal invasion by Russia of Ukraine, by the US President Donald Trump's assertions that European nations need to take more control of their defence and security, and why all European nations are now significantly increasing defence spending. I think that will highlight that it's a very, very important time for defence for not just the UK but the wider continent. And at a time when all this extra tens of billions of pounds are going in, I think it's important that parliamentarians debate where that money is going, and that we ensure that there is value for money. So that's why we wanted this on the spending of the Ministry of Defence as well as Armed Forces maximum personnel. Now, with regards to spending, if we look at what the Prime Minister said at the Munich Security Conference, he said that to meet the wider threat, we need to go further and faster. We need to increase defence spending, but it's not clear, Chair, what that means in practical terms. When are we going to reach certain levels? Where's that spending going to be happening? We've had the Strategic Defence Review, but as yet we do not have the Defence Investment Plan on which there will be a clear demand signal for the defence industrial base, as well as a clear signal to our allies and adversaries. There are so many issues that need to be worked through, and I know that there is strong feeling across the House, not just within the Defence Committee, and I think that it's about time that we had a really detailed look into scrutinising what the government is doing or what its plans are, and that's why obviously we want this debate. And also we had a meeting with the National Audit Office, for example, and within that, if you look at their publication, the NAOs, there's, for example, the MOD requesting, I'll just give you one example, requesting an additional £9 billion for depreciation and impairments. Now, that's a non-routine request, but there is no meaningful explanation as to what that actually relates to. So these are mind-boggling numbers, but it's important that all of these things are brought to the floor of the House where the House is able to hold to account the executive. And the debate also is an opportunity for us, Chair, to reflect on the numbers of armed forces personnel. We'll all be aware that there has been a decline over recent years and decades, and we want to get into that as well, because this may well be the House's last opportunity to authorise maximum numbers in our regular and reserve forces by a mechanism that's called Votes A in their current form. That's something that I've raised on the floor of the House, but I think that's also something that we need to tease out from across the House. So there are lots and lots of issues, and given the increasing importance, given the trajectory that we have said from 2.3 we're going to go to 2.6, then we're going towards 3.5% in terms of conventional military spend, not to mention the extra 1.5% on defence related expenditure. For all of those said reasons and many more, Chair, members, I would request that you look favourably upon our application. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Will?
You're really good at getting people to sign up to the debates. You've got a phenomenal amount of numbers. Do you reckon all 71 are realistically going to want to speak in the debate? And secondly, if they are going to speak in the debate, how long do you think you will need for that debate? 'Cause that's a lot of people with not a lot of time.
Look, ultimately, parliamentary diaries notwithstanding for different members, they have all said that they are strongly in support, whether that's in this in the form of speeches, whether it's interventions, however it is. A lot of members feel that the scrutiny isn't there and that we need to get that debate. So, we could have a very long debate, but obviously it's up to the Backbench Business Committee as to how much time they allocate. But my request is, I'm fully mindful of the fact that there are only 3 applications that you can support, but I would say to honourable members that defence at this present point in time, given the level of uncertainty and the lack of scrutiny that we have been able to effect, that members want that opportunity to come and have their say.
Any other questions? Okay, well, clerks will be in touch.
Thank you very much.
After the meeting, I suspect.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Dan. Right, now we then go to a joint application on behalf of the PAC, Home Affairs and Justice Select Committees. I understand, I was going to say.
No client.
Hi. The chairman of the committees are not able to be present, but we have excellent substitutes.
Well, we'll try our best, Chair. Thank you for having us. As you said, I think this is a joint application from the 3 committees. I'm a member of the Home Affairs Committee, but that reflects the fact that this bid, while it's specifically about the spending of the Ministry of Justice, it reflects the concern of... here we are.
That was good. Sorry, Bob. It's an urgent call about something that might be Sheffield Wednesday, but I won't tell you what.
You haven't bought the club, have you?
I'm going to whip round, but I might do tomorrow.
I was just 30 seconds into opening, Clive. Do you want to take over?
You carry on. I agree with what you said.
I suppose it's a joint bid because the pressures facing the Ministry of Justice, I think, are a concern of all of our committees. Clearly, we've had from the concerns in the prison system, the courts backlog, and today's announcement from the Deputy Prime Minister about jury trials and revising estimates for next year, which has impact on issues on violence against women and girls. The transition, the Met Police Commissioner has raised concerns about the functioning of the prison system and that impact on the police. So it is a cross-cutting application for those reasons, and it's something that all of our committees have taken a significant interest into. We've clearly also, from a Home Affairs perspective, got a significant police reform agenda, which is partially predicated on some of those wider changes in the in the justice system. I think where there has been statements in the House recently about these issues, whether that be about jury trials, about prison capacity, clearly there's been a number of urgent questions. The police reform statement from the Home Secretary was very significantly subscribed, and we feel, I suppose, collectively that for those reasons, that's why we're seeking this debate.
Matt, anything to add? Sorry, Clive, anything to add?
You can fly first.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's just from a public accounts point of view, we sort of tend to look across government and see the bits that don't join together. And that's why I think a debate like this can enable you to have a look at what is going wrong or right and how it relates the issues that are created in one bit of the service then cause problems elsewhere. We've seen the issue with the police. They improve detection rates, they improve prosecutions of people going forward, and then that leads to more people in prison and prison overcrowding. Or another issue is to get more people in prison, then more people come out or should be coming out and often get in connection with the probation service. We did a report recently on the probation service. It was really quite shocking. And the service is just falling apart. The prisoners, ex-prisoners, are not having the number of visits they need. They're not having visits in prison. They don't come out ready for the outside world. And they all too often end up back in prison, which generates more problems on prison overcrowding. So it's just the join-up of all this seemed to us to be a very good opportunity for a debate which does talk across the piece.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So I obviously come from the Justice Select Committee, but also with a unique background, I suppose, as being a former police officer until fairly recently. We all know the stats and figures about delays in the court systems, the prison overcrowding. I think the most up-to-date figures, we got 76,000 cases open in the Crown Court by March last year, although sitting days have reached a decade high last year, so it's something obviously going completely amiss here somewhere. I just want to pick up from what Clive said about the police. It's very, very true that police officers try their hardest. They go out, they fight crime, they serve the public, they protect everybody. And it's very demoralising when you either think that we're going to be in a court backlog for however many years, or we may end up with a conviction, we may not, because lots of people back out for whatever reasons over the delays, and then we can't send people to prison. And all of this is having a big impact on police officers. And I think it's important to recognise that these police officers, yes, I was a former one, but I haven't been for a while, have and continue to serve everybody to the best of their ability. And to see that we're debating, or hopefully debating, topics such as this just gives them a bit of confidence. I speak to the police here on site, and they say all the time, there's no support, there's nothing coming from government, we don't see enough. Why is that? That's what they're looking for. And I think if nothing else, not taken away from any of the other applications, but police officers are out there fighting, and in many cases, even here, getting killed. And we need to know that they need to know that we're supporting them, and actually we're giving them a little bit of confidence that we're trying to bring the backlogs down. So that's what I'd say.
Okay. All right. Question, Jonathan.
Thank you, Chairman. This committee allocated a debate on the spending of the Ministry of Justice on criminal justice at the last estimates debate, estimates day in the summer last year. Do you expect this debate to cover similar matters?
Possibly, not necessarily all of them. And I think there'll be lots of new ones coming up. That's what I would say with the updates today from the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah, and I think, if I may, Chair, I think as Matt alluded to, there's been significant changes. Just today's announcement of supplementary estimates in terms of the court system. For example, there's been significant public concern about releases and functioning of the prison system in terms of prisoner transfers, etc. That have taken place since then. We've also got a significant police reform piece and a funding piece that's been announced since last summer. And frankly, the police funding settlement, while clearly wouldn't be in direct scope of this debate, the adequacy of police funding is dependent on how far the police are expected to deal with a set of criminals that may be released early from prisons, etc. And that's why we're applying jointly for this.
And you could throw in top of that the prison arrangements, and we did a PAC report into Dartmoor, and that's a really unhappy experience about a prison which we lost spaces there rather than gained them because of the challenges and the problems there, which were not, should have been foreseen but weren't.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you for your presentation. The clerks will be in touch.
Right, and apologies once again, Chair.
Next application is from, I think, just Layla Moran, representing, and this is on the spending of the health and social care on pharmaceutical procurement.
Yes, thank you very much. It is a joint application between us and Science and Technology Select Committee.
Okay.
Chi is in the chamber doing the online harms opposition day, so she sends her apologies, but she really did want to be here and really wants to make the case. Just on the top, just to say, we now have 3 Conservatives who have also signed up, so I'm sure a challenge you will have set me is that we don't have any, and that was because of when we pulled it together. But so Joe Robertson, Greg Stafford and Kit Malthouse are also happy to add their names, and I'm confident it would be of interest to a lot of people. So the debate would centre on this UK-US pharmaceutical deal that was struck at the end of 2025. Much lauded at the time by the government, with elements of uncertainty, particularly about where the money was going to come from. And despite questioning, so me of Wes and Science and Technology did the same from their ministers, it wasn't clear until more recently that actually the money in the medium and longer term is certainly going to be coming from the NHS budget. What the deal itself does is it changes 2 key things in NHS spending. The first is the NICE threshold, so some of you might be aware of those from your constituency inboxes. That's the amount of money that NICE can choose to spend on new treatments. That would rise. The pharmaceutical industry said that that's a great thing, but there's quite a lot of health economics that suggests that actually they were already too high, and the thing you should do is reduce them. There was a paper in the Lancet that made that case just a couple of years ago. So there's a debate to be had about whether or not that's the right thing at all to do. And the second is the rebate. Lord Vallance, who was the one who struck the deal, lauding it as something brilliant for our own pharmaceutical industry and our economy, but also made clear that the combination of these 2 changes are worth about £1 billion of extra cost in England just over the current spending review period. The wonks who have looked at what this looks like over time have suggested it could be worth up to £3 billion if some trajectories take hold. And the reason why this is really important is because the question has to be, where is that money coming from? And the answer is, and the OBR have been quite clear about this, is going to be coming from the front line. So at the same time that you have a government that is, I think quite rightly, of course, wanting to reduce waiting lists and put more money into mental health and community and all the big changes that are happening in the NHS, of course, the backdrop to this is the huge NHS changes and the reorganisation, and the bill is coming. But meanwhile, they've signed up to this deal that looks to be taking money away from that very front line. And the bit that Chi really wanted me to stress to you is where the money is going. Because fundamentally, that money is being taken from the NHS and is being funneled towards American pharmaceutical companies. This is, I think, something that deserves its airing on the floor of the House, because at its core, and this was a point made to me by a whistleblower from a part of the NHS who was deeply concerned and came to a surgery about this, this is actually a fundamental change about the purpose of the NHS and taxpayer money. Because we would assume that all taxpayer money that comes into the NHS is spent on making the nation more well, and that is what is in the Constitution. What's happened in this deal is that the NHS has essentially been used to strike a favourable deal with another country. That's the first time that's ever happened. And we have not seen the impact assessments. The estimates themselves have nothing on this. All of this detail that I've described to you came to light after the estimates were made. And so this is an opportunity to get the department to come forward with a better understanding of where is this money going to come from, but also to challenge, I think, some of those basic premises about what is the purpose of the NHS. So whilst it feels like it might be quite a narrow title, I think actually the implications for spending in the NHS and also the NHS more widely, which of course is the consistently top 3 concerns of the public in any polling over particularly the last 5 years, I think there's great public interest in this, and indeed interest across the House.
Can you just clarify what the timeline here is? Because obviously if the deal has started, you may be
there's an MOU. There's an MOU that's been signed, and that's as far as they've got so far, is my understanding. So the details, I don't know. The details of the deal, and this is part of the issue. A lot of the transparency around this deal we have not had sight of. I understand that there is an impact assessment. It does exist. At the moment, they're saying they can't release it for all sorts of commercial reasons and so on. I also understand that there are some people in the various departments minded to get this out there in the public domain so that we can understand the impact. But we've not seen the impact assessment, and there is not enough transparency around this deal, which is why we think it would be timely to bring it to the House.
Okay. Any other questions from colleagues? Thank you, Layla. The clerks will be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Shortly after the meeting. The final application for Estimate Day debates is from Liam Byrne on behalf of the Business and Trade Select Committee. Liam, please present. Just you weren't here, and I understand why. We have 7 applications, and we've got potentially 3 slots. So we've got to decide which one is the major priorities.
Yeah. Thanks, Chair, and I appreciate you've already given us one, and we're back for a second. So there's 3 reasons for asking again. So the first is that DBT got the biggest single uplift in supplementary estimates. So this was, of all the supplementary estimates tabled, DBT was top of the list. That's about £1 billion extra. So that is an 18% increase in departmental day-to-day funding. It's about 360 million, and it's about another 600 million in capital. So big increase, therefore probably warrants a debate in our book. But the second question then, the second reason for asking, is really to help members get stuck into whether that money is being spent on the right things. So the $1 billion extra, the department is basically earmarked for 3 things. So steel, 375 million, British Business Bank, 200 million, and then Post Office, the provision is up to 1.2 billion. Now, obviously, steel, where is the steel strategy? Tarsha just told us there's 8 weeks to save the steel industry, big concern. British Business Bank is a big concern for a lot of members because scale-up finance is one of the pressing needs that all businesses talk about. And then obviously the Post Office is not yet finished. So within the spending settlement, there is a question about why this extra money is needed. Is it being spent on the right things? What we would say is that there's a challenge for the department because we've taken evidence down from 1,000 witnesses last year, and the priorities that we get back from the business community are around AI and productivity, problems with the industrial strategy, inward investment, employment rights, cutting red tape, fostering enterprise and consumer protection. So what we'd like to do is to basically give members the chance to debate whether the department is A, spending the money that they've been given wisely, and B, are they spending it on the right things? So that is the sort of the second reason for pitching. And then I suppose the third question really is that these debates are always quite well attended because everybody wants to talk about businesses in their own constituencies. Growth is not where the government wants it to be. There are all kinds of arguments as to why, and what debates like this give us is just a way of making sure that the work that we're running through our inquiries is genuinely the stuff that matters to colleagues in the House. So the 3 reasons are basically, it's a big number that this department has just enjoyed. Second, there are real questions about whether it is spending the money on the right things. And third, helping the Business and Trade Committee do what members are actually interested in is a lot easier when we have debates like this. So that's the picture.
Is there an argument to say, I mean, obviously the Post Office, Horizon scandal, compensation bid, and also keeping the steel industry going, means that actually there's no new money for business and trade. It's really to compensate for what needs to be paid out. Is that fair? Or?
Well, it is new money in the sense that they have had to put extra money into steel, they've had to put extra money into Post Office. There are obviously then questions as to, well, is that money being wasted because there isn't a steel strategy that tells us that this is a sensible investment? On Post Office, the big question is when on earth are Fujitsu going to put their hand in their pocket? Yeah. This is now, in total, a £2 billion cost to the Exchequer when you add up the redress payments plus all the legal costs. And there's a real question as to why the government has not asked Fujitsu for any cash yet. So there's a lot of quite meaty issues here at stake, and so a debate like this gives people a chance to get stuck in across a wide front.
Thank you. Any other colleagues' questions? Martin, you want anything about the steel industry?
Well,
Martin, you know.
I should declare an interest in wanting more spending on the steel industry, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, the clerks will be in touch in due course.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That concludes the applications for Estimates Day debates. And we've got one application which was from Ben Lake, but I think, Nav, you're substituting, on the emerging risks of advanced AI.
Right. Yeah, so
thank you for waiting.
No, thank you. Thank you to all committee members. Ben Lake can't be here today for some reason, so I'm just covering for him. I will be honest with you, I'm not an expert on AI, but once again, thank you to all members of the committee and the chair for hearing this application. I think most MPs, if not all MPs, would agree that artificial intelligence is one of, if not the most defining technology of our time. The impact of AI transcends constituencies, national boundaries, international boundaries. It's such an important issue. So this application is for, the proposal is for a 3-hour general debate in the chamber on the emerging risks of advanced AI. Without getting too much into detail, just a couple of points if I can make, Chair. Models developed by leading AI companies are now able to perform complex reasoning, write code, win gold medals in international maths Olympiads, operate autonomously in ways that seemed out of reach even a few years ago. However, as the capabilities continue to increase, so do the risks. The fundamental problem is, as I understand it, is that AI models, as they become more capable, they become increasingly more difficult to understand and, more importantly, control. In the words of Dario Amodi, who's the CEO of one of the largest AI companies, Anthropic, he said that we understand around 3% of how these systems work. So the UK government has rightly warned that we could see irreversible sort of loss of control over advanced AI systems. In October 2025 annual threat update, the Director General of MI5 highlighted the need to prepare for the potential future risks from non-human autonomous AI systems which may evade human oversight and control. The AI Security Institute's recent Frontier AI Trends report from December 2025, just a few weeks ago, warns that current models can already deceive researchers during testing and sabotage evaluations to avoid being shut down. AI systems are increasingly capable of self-replication, and in worst-case scenarios, unintended behavior could lead to catastrophic, irreversible loss of control. These are the direct quotations. So the warnings are not new. Leading experts have highlighted civilizational stakes involved since 2023, when they came together to sign a statement stating that mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. This statement was signed by 2 British Nobel Prize winners, including AI scientists and CEOs of major AI companies themselves. I could go on and on for much longer, but there is a cross-party appetite for such a debate. The proposal is signed by 16 MPs, so that's 7 Labour MPs, 3 Liberal Democrats, 2 Conservative, 2 Plaid Cymru, and 2 independent MPs. But I'm sure many more MPs would be interested in speaking or contributing, or at least sort of listening to this debate. And I'm grateful to the committee for considering the application on behalf of Ben Lake, not to me. Yeah. Chris.
Thank you very much, and I thought you did very well considering your admission at the start that you don't know a lot about AI, which I don't either, so I'm with you on that. Look, we've got a really long wait in the chamber, and I'm aware this is a really important debate, and related with something like this, it moves forward at pace, as you've kind of established. Would you consider, and I appreciate you might have to go back to Ben and ask him, whether you would have Westminster Hall debate on the Tuesday and Thursday instead, just to get this ahead of the summer recess?
Thank you, Chris. So I think, as I said, I'm covering for Ben, but my briefing says that we would prefer to maintain a general motion in the chamber. However, happy to do a Westminster Hall debate and look to raise a substantive debate in the chamber at some point in the future. Tuesday would be preferable because many MPs are not here on Monday or Wednesday.
Yeah, sure. And that kind of answers my question about the motion as well. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, the clerks will be in touch in due course. So just to be clear, on behalf of Ben, you are saying that you would accept a Westminster Hall debate if
it'll be a 90-minute one or one.
It'll be a 90-minute debate, yeah.
Yeah. I did have some Terminator jokes lined up, but I think I'll save them for my actual speech. So.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah, please
Thanks,
do.
everyone. Thank you.
You're not far away.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public business of the committee. The committee will now retire to consider the applications in private order.